Welcome to The Process, a place where artists can discuss ideas, creativity, the industry, and of course the music that drives us. We are the Beamish brothers. My name is Ben.
And I'm Jeremy, and we're an Australian duo. We write songs, play shows, and always love a good chat with the talented people we come across on our journey.
Going for the circle.
Hello and welcome to The Process, a podcast where we chat with like-minded artists about everything from music and life to the creative process and everything in between.
Today we're joined by singer-songwriter Yorke from Byron Bay, who's been making waves for a while now with collaborations with Pacers, Lanx and Chris Collins, and written with the likes of Japanese Wallpaper, Hank Solo, which we'll come back to soon enough. Yorke, how's it going?
Good, thank you. How are you guys?
Very well.
Pretty good. We're pretty cold at the moment. We're in Toowoomba and it's freezing.
I know.
It's
so cold at the moment.
Oh my goodness. How's the temperature in Byron at the moment?
I actually can't complain. That's pretty
good.
nice.
Nice and beachy.
I just get cold really easily and I'm a bit of a sook.
That's all right.
So I'm sure in comparison to, say, Melbourne, it's really warm, but I'm
exactly.
cold.
Oh, no, that's so fair. We're a bit the same as well.
Totally.
So we just, actually, since we're talking about Byron, we know that you're from there, so why don't you tell us a little bit about what it was like to grow up in Byron, like what the scene was like there, whether being in a location like that, which I think a lot of Australia does romanticize, whether that inspired some of your creative process.
Yeah, definitely. I moved to Byron when I was 8 years old, and I think that was about the time that I started writing, and I started getting piano lessons and flute lessons. Fun
Same.
Flute
I feel like
players
it's a rite of
unite.
passage for every child.
Amazing.
But yeah, once I started playing keyboard, I started writing, and I was in year 3, and I remember I wrote a really bad song, and
year
it sort of all
3,
just stemmed from there.
Yeah.
And I think I'm really, really lucky. A lot of local creatives took a chance on me when they didn't really need to, and I had so much support. And I did a lot of busking here, and yeah, it definitely helped like build my confidence. And there was a lot of songwriting competitions around here, which I was fortunate enough to win. So yeah, it was really fun. Got to play Blues Fest a couple times.
Yeah,
Whoa, that's massive.
That's amazing.
So it definitely helped. I think
Absolutely.
if I hadn't have been here, I don't know whether I would be here today.
Totally. I mean, that's amazing, and you've obviously had some incredible opportunities come forward since the beginning. As we mentioned, collaborating with Lanx and Pacers, to name just a couple. So when you're in those collaborative situations, we're just wondering, as artists ourselves, how do you normally approach the songwriting process? Is it do you follow like a fixed process, or is it kind of fluid for you?
It definitely changes with every person that I work with.
Yeah.
There isn't really a set way to do it. I don't really ever go into sessions with ideas. We're sort of just messing around and coming up with things on the fly, which I think is really fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, honestly, every different collaboration that I've done has been a completely different process. So it's always pretty fun.
Yeah,
that's
I always
awesome.
admire the boldness of people who don't bring any ideas into sessions.
It's either bold or stupid, one or the other.
I'm too afraid. I'm always too afraid. Like I have to have something. Otherwise, I fear the awkward silence of who's got the first idea?
Yeah,
who's gonna be the first crazy person to say their
come
random
forward.
brain fart and try and get the ball rolling.
Absolutely.
I can totally see that. I think prior to doing sessions and stuff, I did a lot of writing alone and just at home. So when I started working with people, it was just like, I want to do something so separate to what I've already done. And it's seemed to work so far. So
Absolutely.
I'm happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you usually like to work with other singer-songwriters, or do you love working with producers who can kind of help you hone in on your melodies and lyrics?
Yeah, definitely producers. And yeah, just being able to translate what's in my head and them actually make it sound good.
Yeah, totally.
I've been trying to learn to produce and it's not going great so far.
It's tough.
But
It's It's a tough
it's
line
so
of
cool
work.
watching producers. I always try and take away lessons when I'm working with people, just of little things that they do. And I think it really brings out the best of my songwriting, being able to play off production tricks and what other people are coming up with.
Totally.
Yeah, absolutely.
With your song, with Lanks, for example, Don't Let the Lights Go Out, which I absolutely love, by the way. How was that song
you.
written, for example?
Yeah, that was the first time I'd ever met Lynx. And we just wrote it in this tiny, tiny room in Sydney. And it was an absolute boiling hot day. The tiny window, and we were just like huddling at the window trying to get fresh air with a keyboard. And we wrote the whole thing on keys before we even put any production down.
Nice.
And I
awesome.
think if the song can stand on its own just on keys, I always love them bringing production into the picture. I think it always brings out the best in the song.
Yeah, I think when you write songs acoustically, it really allows you to focus a lot on the lyrics as well. I find, at least, and I really noticed that about that song. I even like highlighted one of the lyrics which I really liked, which was "You're turning shades of pink and red, baby, you're my favorite sunset." I think that's right? Like that's
That's it.
yeah, I thought that was such a creative lyric, and I think now that I hear you describing how you just wrote it all on keys, that really clicks for me, because I think when you have people who are comfortable just writing a song acoustically, there's usually that focus on just getting the most creative lyrics. So well done on that.
Thank you.
No worries. And speaking of songs, at the time of this podcast released, you'll have just released your new song Gravity, which is a big one, and which is one we're excited to talk about, and we know you are as well. So you obviously worked on this one with Hank Solo and Japanese Wallpaper and ex-Death Can for Cutie member Chris Walla. So could you tell us a little bit about your song Gravity and what it's written about?
Of course. So as you mentioned, I wrote it with Japanese Wallpaper. We were doing like a bunch of writing days, and this one sort of came at the end of a writing day where we'd already written another song. And I think I was really hyper. I had too many coffees that day, and
we can relate.
I sort of had this idea in the back of my mind of an alien and a human falling in love and being unable to exist in each other's worlds, but trying to make it work. And I'm sure it was probably a metaphor for what was going on in my life at the time. But yeah, it came together really organically, and Gab, Japanese Wallpaper, and I have a lot of the same influences. So yeah, it was really fun, and I am in love with the song. I'm so excited that it has come out. And yeah, when we got Hank Solo, a Finnish producer, on board, we got the song back, and it was just, he really took it to the next level, which was so exciting.
Honestly, that's so cool.
Yeah, and then obviously Chris Walla, which was crazy.
Yes,
absolutely.
I really love the like kind of 80s synth vibe in the chorus. It's really biting and interesting.
Super chill.
So what was it like working with the team who you put that song together with? Was it like a real collaboration from start to finish? Were you the person who focused more on like melody and lyrics, or like who did what, I guess, in that room?
Yeah, I think definitely it was split pretty 50-50, like melodies, and I wrote the song pretty fast, and Gab was sort of just working on all his little production tricks, and he's an absolute genius. And then I think we sort of brought both of our ideas together, and we're like, oh, wow, it sounds so good what we've both been doing independently. When we came together, we were really, really stoked. I guess it just shows that we had a really good rapport working together, and sort of really understood where each other were at in terms of our music.
I always find like in writing sessions sometimes like it's oddly quiet when, you know, people kind of go off to do their own things. The producer will have the headphones on, layering all the sounds. The melody and lyric writer is just on their phone tapping away at lyrics, and like there's always like at least like an hour of just like people doing their own thing and then bringing it together. And that's always the fun bit of going like, oh my gosh, you did that. That sounds so cool. And like, whoa, that melody is amazing. And
putting all the different puzzle pieces together.
Yes.
Was it kind of like that for you?
Definitely, yeah. I was sitting on a beanbag just tapping away, and Gab had his big old headphones on and was playing all his synths and pressing a lot of buttons, and I was playing a cowbell because, as I said, I was a bit hyper.
Fair enough. I love that.
But yeah, and then when we came together, it was just magical.
Hey everyone, this is Ben and Jeremy here from the editing room.
And we just wanted to jump in right now to say that we hope you're all doing okay. We know it's obviously a bit of a difficult time right now for live music and all industries really, just with the current coronavirus crisis. But we just wanted to wish you well, hope you're all staying inside, staying healthy, and if anyone needs to talk to us at any stage, then feel free to drop us a message. We're always here and think it's more important now than ever to support live music and artists during this difficult time.
Yeah, absolutely. We are going to be inside a lot, writing, doing all kinds of music things, but also just, you know, doing as many podcasts as we can. Hopefully we can actually increase our output and get more to you. If you haven't already, make sure you give us a review, go follow us. We don't really know the podcast lingo, but yeah, do all that fun stuff and enjoy the rest of the podcast.
Just wanted to talk a little bit about your album as well, Liberosis.
Yeah.
What a whopper of a record. It's so cool.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, what inspired you to actually like want to put together a body of work like that? And also, how did that process take place from start to finish? You know, what were the first songs? What was your favorite song?
Tough decision.
I asked the hard-hitting questions.
He does.
You do.
It's his thing.
So most of the songs were written in 2018.
Yeah.
I think the first song that was written was probably Wake the City, and then First Light was written the day after that.
Cool.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I didn't know at the time that I would be working towards a body of work, but it was something that I really wanted to put together to sort of represent, like, I feel like for me it's a coming of age. It's like a storybook, and it sort of sums up a lot of what I was going through as I was coming into my 20s, and looking back now, I feel like I really grew and matured with the process of writing and putting that EP together. I think my favorite song would probably have to be Thought I Could.
Yeah, that's a beautiful one.
We wrote that song. It was my first ever midnight session.
Nice.
And I don't do well with lack of sleep.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was. I'm surprised that we got something out of it, but I just remember listening back to it the next day and being like, "Oh my god! Like, I really, really love this."
That's awesome.
And I got to work with such amazing people on the record, and it was a real learning experience for me as well.
Absolutely. And what was it, do you think, about that song that, you know, really vibed with? Was it the lyrics or just the general sentiment, or what was it about that song that really stuck out for you the most?
Yeah, I think it was all of the above. The song for me is just, I think it summed up everything that Yorke is and was, and the sentiment of the song was really, really personal to me at the time. And it just, I don't really know. I just was drawn in straight away, and getting to work with Howski on that song, who is absolutely incredible in his own right. It just came together so smoothly.
Are you more of you mentioned that like you don't really do midnight sessions much, and I definitely relate to that. I'm such I wouldn't say I'm like an early to bed kind of person, but I definitely like...
Oh, you are.
I'm a bit, like, compared to a lot of musicians, let's say that.
Yeah.
So are you someone who like kind of prefers sessions in the morning or afternoon, or...
do you have like a time of the day where you're most creative?
Inspired?
Usually most sessions for me are like start at maybe like 10 a.m. and go to about 7 or 8 at night. And that's probably what works best for me.
Same. That's
but
fair.
after thought I could, and the fact it actually didn't sound bad, maybe I should be open to more night session. Who knows?
Well, I think that's the beauty of what we do, is that we really can pick our hours. Like we don't need to be locked into a 9 to 5 kind of schedule. We can actually just be like, oh well, I can just work all night and sleep during the day if we want to, as Ben frequently does.
No, it's a good thing that this is an afternoon podcast. But anyway, there's obviously I want to kind of address the elephant in the room, and that's everything that's happening in the world right now with the pandemic. Now, do you have any plans for live shows? And if so, has COVID affected that? Or, how much of all of that is still uncertain with everything we're seeing?
Yeah, well, I had a tour that was planned for the EP that was meant to happen in May, I think, but it got postponed to October.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's going to go ahead.
Yeah,
I think
guess
it's
we just
just
have to
a
wait.
take it day by day sort of situation.
I think everything going on with Victoria especially is really throwing the safety of Australia, kind of that idea out of
out the window.
Yeah, out the window, I guess.
Of course.
Totally.
Yeah, it's been such a weird year.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're going to move into a section that we do called It's Not Always Perfect. And basically, we know that all artists have, kind of embarrassing or frustrating or funny stories from their work. And we want to know what yours is, if you have one. So do you have like any sort of funny story or kind of like an embarrassing moment that may have happened in a studio session or something like that, which you want to share?
Yes, I have two that have come to mind.
Amazing.
Oh, good.
Alrighty. I was working out of Forbes Street Studios in Sydney, and there's sort of like a writing room there, and there's a bigger room, and I was in the little writing room, and there was a bunch of people in the large room, and I didn't know who they were at the time, and then I found out that it was Sean Kingston.
Oh, no.
And I have a really bad habit of when I think of an artist or I see them or whatever, I will start humming their song.
Oh, no.
And I was in the kitchen and it's sort of like a big communal area and I was humming Beautiful Girls.
I was just going to say, was that the one that you started? Yeah, of course.
With no idea that he was in the room as well.
That's hilarious.
Listening. Yes, and his whole crew was there as well, and they found it hilarious. And I didn't really know what to say.
That's amazing.
I was just like, hi.
I don't know how you're gonna. Yeah, absolutely.
Hi, Sean Kingston.
I don't know how you're gonna top that with the second story, but definitely keen to hear what happened.
Yeah, second story. I supported Ruel.
Right. Yeah.
And the first show was in Hobart, and there was only one green room, so we were sort of sharing with Ruel and his crew, and I needed to do a vocal warm-up, and I'd timed it perfectly. So I could do my warm-up and then have 10 minutes to calm down before I went on stage.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I asked one of the venue people if there was any rooms that I could go to and do a vocal warm-up. And they sort of opened the door for a room that was behind the stage and let me in and then shut the door behind me. And I did my vocal warm-up. And then I went to leave and I realized that there was no doorknob on my side of the room. And it was sort of underground where the room was. So there was no cell service.
Oh,
and
gosh.
I was just panicking.
Freaking out.
Like no one knew where I was. My phone wasn't working and I couldn't get out. Anyway, I tried yelling out to my band member or whatever, and I was banging on the door, and there was 1,000 girls screaming, waiting for Ruel, so no one could hear me. Anyway, someone finally came to get me and realized, and they had to actually take the door off its hinges because
oh my god,
the door, like the actual doorknob on the other side, wasn't working either.
Holy
This
crap.
sounds suspicious. Who led you to that room?
I
right?
know. And so pretty much I escaped from the room with about 1 minute to spare,
Oh my god.
and it was terrifying. But in
Wow.
hindsight, it was really funny.
Yeah,
I mean, it is funny,
far
but
out.
I'm still like, you should really follow up on whichever person led you to that room and make sure
Yeah.
they were
I
employed.
was
Yeah.
just like, how could this happen to me? Like, it's such a typical
Yeah.
thing that would happen
Oh my gosh,
to me.
and it's like that's totally something that would happen to us as well. We do
Yeah.
this. Like, literally, we are just magnets for disaster. It's
Yeah.
awful.
Oh, yeah.
Even
It's
right-
always on
like-
tour. Always
Oh,
on tour.
It's always when, yeah, it's either always on tour or just, at a moment that's really important. Like even now, for example, there's literally a possum on the roof that we can hear. Or is it, it's either a possum
Or
or
the
someone,
neighbours.
or the neighbors on the roof. Like, I don't even know.
Like, we use this studio every day,
Yeah.
all day, every day, and it's so quiet. And just
Not a
now,
sound, yeah.
there's some random noises.
No, it's all good. We'll be able to EQ it out. But that, I guess that constitutes as our, story just for today. And
We have plenty more, like,
my gosh.
of Ben forgetting passports and whatnot.
let's not go there.
We won't go there.
No.
We might move into a quick fire round of questions just so listeners can get to know you better,
Yeah.
so we can get to know you better.
Yeah, we already know the answer to the first question though, which we kind of alluded to, which is you mentioned, about your working hours. So, would you say more of a morning person or an evening person? Because it sounds like more of a morning person, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely mornings.
Such an underrated answer on this podcast. If you have to choose between one or the other for the rest of your life, caffeine or alcohol?
Caffeine, all the way.
That's fair.
Correct.
That's
correct.
fair. Do you have any pets? And if so, what are their names?
I do. I have 2 dogs, both 15 years old and one is 16. They
Yeah.
are Robbie and Lucy.
Adorable.
I have a cat that is a British short hair called Artie.
Oh.
And I have 3 cows. One is called
Wow.
Willow, and I can't remember the names of the other 2.
Well, that's a bit different.
Yeah.
We don't usually have many cow owners
No.
on the podcast.
Do you live on a farm by any chance?
I do.
I mean,
thought
you'd
so.
assume
I mean,
not an apartment.
Yeah,
Yes.
unless it would be a really packed apartment.
Very stinky apartment.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay, what is a city that you want to live in?
New York.
Yeah,
Very nice.
Could not
Matches
agree
the
more.
name.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Is there a song that you wish you'd written?
Yes. All Too Well, Taylor Swift.
Oh,
Nice. I mean,
That's
she
so
just
true.
she just pours out the bangers, doesn't she?
she just her new album.
How good's her new album?
So
I can't-
freaking good. I have been obsessed. I can't handle
Yes.
it.
Amazing.
All right, artists who you would love to collaborate with who you haven't already.
That's really hard. I think Tame Impala could be really cool.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
that's a good one.
I'm a fan.
That's
that'd be
so
awesome.
good.
Bit of Kevin Parker.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And what do you think was or has been the biggest shock to you about the music industry?
How supportive everyone is.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We were kind of hoping for some goss, not gonna lie, but we'll
That's
take
nice
that
too.
answer.
Yeah.
No, actually, that's a really nice answer because we've heard some like absolute horror stories from artists, and it's always I think. And like you'll obviously agree with this, having like such a supportive team is just like so important in this industry. Having the right team and the right network and the right support network behind you.
Completely. I have the best
100%.
team.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of support network, what do your parents think about what you're doing and your music and your career?
They love it. I actually think my mom is my biggest fan.
Yeah.
They're amazing. They were the ones who encouraged me to defer uni and really focus on my music and give it the best chance.
That's awesome.
So I am forever grateful for that.
Yes, actually, same sort of experience with us too. They were always super encouraging of us. Not your parents, our parents.
Your parents have really supported us.
Yeah, they encouraged us to not go to university as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
So yeah, it's always great to have that parental backing.
Absolutely.
Do you have any advice for aspiring artists?
Hustle and really, really hone your craft and spend the time to really focus on who you are as an artist and what you want.
Absolutely. And just on that note about hustle, what has that kind of looked like for you as an artist? How have you had to hustle to turn your passion into a career?
I think every step of the way is sort of a hustle. I was really lucky that most of my team, they sort of came to me and they were really passionate about the project. But I think it's just everyone you meet, really, you're just like, oh yeah, I'm an artist. Like, oh yeah. But yeah, it's sort of just making sure that the right people are listening to you, and I guess it's a part of the process.
Totally.
What a great bookend for that.
Yeah, right. Absolutely brilliant way to finish it off. Well, thank you so much, Yorke, for joining us today on The Process. We've thoroughly enjoyed catching up with you, and please come back anytime. And of course,
thank you for having me.
No worries, it's our pleasure. And of course, congratulations on the new release.
Thank you very much.
We'll see you later.
Take care.